Okay, in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to use Pythagoras' theorem to find the hypotenuse in a right-angled triangle. So if you missed my mini introduction on Pythagoras' theorem and how it applies to triangles, you can go watch my other video where I calculate side lengths of a right-angled triangle, and you can see it there. Alternatively, you can have a look at the Word document that I've uploaded to Daymap, because on the first page it has written explanations of what Pythagoras' theorem is and how it's derived from its formula. So, okay, in this video we're going to be showing how to calculate the hypotenuse of a triangle, which you should know is the longest length. Okay, so we're always looking to find C, the letter C. Now I'm going to write my formula as my first step, just like I always have been, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, and I'm going to highlight that to make it very obvious that that should always be your first line of working out. Always. Okay? Now, what I didn't do is label the sides of my triangle. Now, we already know that we need to find C, which is the hypotenuse, which means the other two side lengths are our A and B. And if you did watch my other video, you would have seen that I said it doesn't matter which one A and B is. So, for convenience reasons, I'm just going to call this one A and I'm going to call this one B. But the A and B does not matter. The side lengths can be A or B. The only one that matters is the C. All right, but they've already given it to us. So yeah, these can be either. Now, once I've done that, I can substitute my numbers into my formula. So our A is 2. So I'm going to put in 2 squared. And then we have a plus, so plus. And then we have b squared. So what's our b? Well, it's 3. So I'm going to put 3 into here, which makes it 3 squared. And then equals c squared. Now, we don't actually know what c is, so c squared stays the same. Okay, so we have 2 squared plus 3 squared equals c squared. Now, at this point, you could do this in your head because 2 squared is obviously 4 and 3 squared is obviously 9. So you could definitely do that in your head, but the numbers will get harder. So please don't do that and always use your calculator. We're going to do the exact same thing that we did in my previous video. Okay, now there are 2 ways you can do this. The first way is by actually calculating what this is as an answer, all right, and then moving on to the next step, or you can literally just leave it like this and then go to the next step. So I'll show you both. Now, the first thing you could do is actually put in this part of the equation into your calculator to get an answer. So I'd put in 2 squared plus 3 squared. And that equals 13. So 13 equals c squared. Now, what did I say was the opposite of a squared? It's a square root. So that means you would square root the right-hand side, but you'd also have to do it to the left-hand side. What happens when you have a square root and a squared? Well, they cancel each other out. So you can cross them both out and you're left with just c. So c equals square root 13. And what's square root 13? 3.60555, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so c equals, and we'll go to 2 decimal places, which is 3.61 centimetres. Okay, now the other way we could have done this, if I just rewrite this step here. Is by straight away putting a square root over everything. Now, we need to find out what c is. Just c, not c squared, just c. So in order for us to get the c on this side of the equation by itself, we need to square root this, because when you have a square root and a squared together, they cancel each other out. Okay? So these two cancel each other out. So if we want to get the c by itself, we need to square root this so we can get rid of that and the squared, and the c will be left by itself. But whatever we do to one side of the equal sign, we have to do to the other side. Okay? So if I'm square rooting all of this, I have to square root all of this. So I will do it to both sides. Now this shouldn't be anything new to you guys. I did this in the other video, okay? And you should be watching that one first. So here I've got square root all of this. My a squared plus my b squared equals square root of my c squared. These two cancel out and we're left with 2 squared plus 3 squared equals c, and I can put all of this into my calculator. Square root 2 squared plus 3 squared, exactly how I see it. All right, in the calculator, exactly how you see it. And you press equals, and look at that, you get the exact same answer. So 3.61. All right, and it took me one less line of working out. Okay, I'm going to be showing you the rest of the examples using this, but feel free to use this side as you're working out for all the questions if it's easier for you. Okay, all right, next one. We are trying to find the hypotenuse again. If looking at this triangle like this is making things difficult, turn your piece of paper to make it look the way that will make you feel comfortable. Okay, so we're trying to find our hypotenuse, which is our c. The other two are our shortest side lengths. So whatever answer we get for this question, the number that we get for c must be greater than 7.2 and 3.8. Okay, so these can either be an A or a B, it doesn't matter. So I'll just make this A and I'll make this B. All right, can be anything. And then I write my formula. Highlight it because it's very important and it should be your first step of working out. And let's substitute. What's our A? 7.2. So 7.2 squared. Then we have plus B squared. What's our B? 3.8 squared equals C squared. And we don't know what C is. We're trying to find that out. So C squared stays as it is. Now, like I said before, I'm going to work it out using this step over here. To get the C by itself, we need to square root this so that the square root can cancel out with our squared. And if I'm doing it to one side of the equal sign, I must do it to the other. So I'm going to square root all of that. Okay, these cancel out. And I'm left with square root 7.2 squared plus 3.8 squared equals C. And I put this in my calculator exactly how I see it. Square root 7.2 squared plus 3.8 squared equals, and we get C equals 8.14 centimetres. And we know that this definitely could be the answer for the hypotenuse, because 8.14 is a greater number than 7.2 and 3.8. So this will be the longest length, or the longest side, in this right angle triangle. All right, one more. Use Pythagoras' theorem to find the hypotenuse. All right, again, I'm going to turn my page so I can see the triangle the way that I want to, and I'm going to go ahead and label. We want to find our hypotenuse, which is the C. These can either be A or B. It does not matter. I'm just going to make this one A, and I'm going to make this one B. Okay, so I've got A, B, C. But can you see a problem? This is in millimeters and that's in meters. That's a problem. It needs to be in the same units. Now, the question doesn't tell me what units they want it in, but because I don't want to deal with a decimal, I'm going to convert this to millimeters and get an answer in millimeters. So you guys should be experts at this since you used it for measurement. To get from meters to millimeters, we need to first times by 100 and then times by 10 after that. So you write your number in your calculator straight away, which is 0.005, and that's in meters. So meters to centimeters is times 100. So times 100. And now we're at centimeters. To get from centimeters to millimeters, you then need to times by another 10. So times by 10. And your answer is 5. So this is actually 5 millimeters as well. So I'm just going to turn my page again and change this to 5 millimeters. And I'm ready to substitute. So, formula, first, all the time. Highlighting it again for you to see how important it is. All right. What's my A? My A is 5. So 5 squared plus, what's my B? 5 again. So 5 squared equals C squared. Well, we don't know what C is. We're trying to find the hypotenuse, so C squared stays as it is. Now, we want to get C by itself because we want to know what C equals, not C squared. What's the opposite of squaring? A square root. So we'll square root that. If I'm doing it to one side of the equal sign, I must do it to the other. So we'll square root the other side too. Squared and square root cancel each other out. So we're left with square root 5 squared plus 5 squared equals C. And then I put this in my calculator exactly how I see it. So square root 5 squared plus 5 squared equals 7.07 millimeters. And we know that we're most likely right because 7.07 is greater than 5. And since this is our longest length in the triangle, whatever answer you got here must be larger than whatever numbers are here. And 7.07 is greater than 5, so we're probably right.